here. The case of 15-year-old Justina Pelletier, taken into Massachusetts state custody after her parents disagreed with doctors at Boston's Children's Hospital over her treatment plan. They believe the doctors at Tufts. Apparently the folks at Boston Children didn't like that. The parents today in Boston juvenile court devastated over learning, this is the mother being taken out on a stretcher, she was so upset, over learning that their daughter may not go home with them and could soon be placed in a foster care facility. Justina's mother actually collapsing, as we showed you from the news, and brought to a local hospital. Matthew Staver was there. He's the founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, who's currently working with the Pelletiers' legal team, although not yet officially on the case, which is why he's allowed to talk to us tonight. Matthew, good to see you. So you were there today as this was unfolding. I know when you had the same reaction to this case as so many of us have initially, which is there must be more going on here. What's the deal with these parents? What's the story? Because no court would just yank custody of a then 14-year-old child and deprive the parents for a year of custody, allowing them to see her only one time a week, supervised visits.
Megyn, that's exactly the reaction that we had. It's the reaction anybody would have when they understand this story. They have to say, something else is going on. Maybe there's something going on with the parents. So before we got on the case and invested our time in this case, we did a lot of background information research on this. And we found out more and more there's nothing going on with the parents here. That's an issue. In fact, what we have is Boston Children's Hospital and the Department of Children and Families, DCF, taking this child away from these parents who love this daughter and who want to care for this daughter and who simply disagree with the recent diagnosis of a newly minted physician who had only been out of medical school for 7 months, who disagreed with her actual treating physician from Tufts. In fact,
who'd been doing this for years.
2013, he'd been doing this for years. He's a medical expert at Tufts, and in January of 2013, Justina was figure skating. She was figure skating in ice competitions as well. And then in February, she develops a severe flu and bad stomach problems, unable to eat. So the doctor in Tufts recommends that she goes to Boston Children's Hospital and recommends that she see a gastroenterologist who went from Tufts to Boston. So they check her in there, but they never get a chance, even to this day, to see that gastroenterologist specialist.
A different team
in fact, you've got a brand
in.
new doctor who changes the diagnosis and says, no, it's not what your expert doctor says. It's all in your mind. And then calls in DCF, and DCF then interferes.
And DCF gets custody taken away from the parents. That's DCF basically deferred.
Right.
I mean, they basically defer to Boston Children's. They go in there. They don't have their own medical experts.
Correct.
They go into the judge and say, well, the people at Boston Children's say that they're, basically abusing the girl. Gee, judge, that's bad. And the judge says, oh, yeah, that is bad. Oh, custody to DCF. But the problem is there's a whole medical team at Tufts saying it's not abuse, it's medical treatment based on a disease she has called mito. But here's the thing I want to ask you, Matt, because this is what the folks at Boston Children's basically say. Mito is a crock. That's if it exists, it doesn't exist in this case. And what actually is happening is that it's not Justina that has psychological issues. It's the parents. From what I read in the Boston Globe, it's the parents. They used to call it Munchausen by proxy, where the parent, the child's not sick, but the parent's working out something of his or her own and creating illnesses in the child and then getting unnecessary treatments and surgeries for the child.
And here's the problem with that, because if that were the case and you remove the parents from her, then her natural condition should improve. But they've been removed from her for now 13 months. They only have 1 hour a week of supervised visitation. Most recently, there were 5 DCF workers and a security guard during that 1 hour visitation last Friday with Linda. And instead of getting better, she's gone from ice skating in January 2013 to being in a wheelchair. She's in
and we're showing the pictures. Those
her
wheelchair pictures, this is her a year ago, and the wheelchair pictures, look at the split screen, how she is now. But could that also be psychological, the deprivation of her parents? I don't know what they're going to say, because they're downgrading her, I guess, the severity of her medical condition by shifting her out of the hospital into foster care, no?
Yes, where she doesn't get any medical treatment at all. I mean, that even is worse. On Friday of last week, Linda saw her with these 5 DCF workers in the room and a security officer. Her stomach is now protruded. She has red lines developing on her abdomen that could be signs of some kind of poisoning. She's got bruises on both arms and a bruise or kind of a blackening under one of her eyes.
They can't examine her. They can't talk about it, which is the really nutty thing. And I want to carry this over, Matt, because we got to talk about this gag order and how crazy that is next.